I'm going to read a thread about what I think is going on in the world right now. So the real war is BRICS versus Bretton Woods. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and probably another 40 countries versus the US dollar, which is the only default global currency, which means the USA, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, most of the other big economy nations. America is not just going to roll over for China. It's not going to settle for losing hegemony. Our defense budget swamps all the others combined, but that's not the real story. The U.S. guarantees freedom of navigation on the oceans. It's how we created a Pax Americana for the time that we did. We were the sole functioning economy after World War II, and that's how it happened. We eliminated piracy and seizures for the most part on the open seas, at least until recently. The dollar was our foreign policy tool, but after 9/11 it was weaponized to coerce compliance from opponents. That didn't sit well with them. Nixon unplugged the dollar in 1972 from silver, and because all payments for oil were required to be in US dollars, it was measured against that. So we leveraged someone else's resources to fund the ballooning government we've had for 50 years. That's the petrodollar we have today. And it's dead, but it doesn't know it yet. Neither do we. Our lives are very soon likely going to take a turn upside down, and I could be wrong about details, but the direction and the facts are all pointing to a same conclusion, which is the dollar dying as we know it. One way this could happen, the Fed's charter to allow sale of U.S. Treasury bonds could be revoked, could be pulled. At that point, every Federal Reserve dollar becomes worthless. There'll be maybe a weekend or a month transition at most, and everything, your Fed dollars, will turn into the U.S. Treasury dollars. And those are going to be linked to a secure ID that will track your life and your money. This has got a lot of benefits. I couldn't create bad ideas and get the people to accept it unless it had great benefits. But it's a golden cage. There's going to be an electronic account for you on file with the U.S. Treasury and a quantum financial system blockchain. You'll hear about QFS more and more as the time goes on. Now, your identity, your online identity, will never be stolen again. Nobody can impersonate you. Anonymous people can't trick you or abuse you online anymore. But there will be no anonymity. There will be no privacy. These things are part of the Great Reset, and they're going to happen no matter what we think or want. I'm not being scary. I'm not speaking in riddles. These things are facts. I personally know about QFS blockchain because it was shared with me 4 years ago. It was part of an international sustainability financing program done with green funds out of San Francisco and New York that had ties to China. I was waiting for a job with this company. So getting there, getting the dollar to die, the system as we have it, to get to the other side is not going to be fun. Current system has to die in China, a global war, and then the whole BRICS currency, which will be asset based on value of natural resources, gold, silver, platinum, oil, you name it. The bond market, stock market, they're going to fall apart. And then we've already got attempts at resource restrictions, such as China trying to restrict their rare earth metals. The situation in Niger, which is trying to restrict France's access to uranium. That plan to do all of this required the compromise and bribery of hundreds of politicians. Just in the U.S., hundreds of judicial figures, media personalities, actors, actresses, newscasters, business leaders, and it has all happened. Jeffrey Epstein was a tool in that compromise operation. That it could be the CCP, it could be the CIA, who knows? But the CCP calls it their BGY. It was about bribery and corruption. The Thousand Talents program was connected to this as well. China, I mean, they compromised college professors, you name it. Children were used on Epstein Island to compromise key people. I have no doubt there's video of almost all of it. Everyone knew about it. There are other islands. For the U.S., this includes Republicans, Democrats, Supreme Court justices, TV news anchors and owners, singers, actors, you name it. They were compromised or bribed. And the Hunter Biden story is about all of this. It's also about China's Belt and Road Initiative. Joe Biden was compromised by China long ago, probably before his 2014 visit to fix the Spratly Island chain military build-out that China was doing, and nothing happened. He didn't deal with it. When things kick off, China's going to create huge problems for Japan, the Philippines, Taiwan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and now Papua New Guinea, among others. The internal financial chaos that the U.S. is going to face, and likely terror attacks or special forces operations from agents that entered already through the southern border, will make us focus everything on our internal security, and it's going to leave you and I with less liberty, which is an end goal. But this is also happening intentionally, and it's why you and I have been sold out by our own government and the press. China and their partners can then do whatever they want as long as we're focused internally. America's going to pivot to China. Europe's going to be left to deal with things on their own with Russia, without ammunition and without resources or energy to replace that ammunition or to heat their homes in the winter. The world has been at war, an unseen war, for some time. I literally cannot believe what I know is going on right now, and that no one else is talking about it. This is like me saying that the sky is blue, for me personally. I can see the sky is blue. I can point to it. I can show you literature on why it's blue. I can also defend the above positions too. This is not Republican versus Democrat. That doesn't even really exist either. It's a uniparty that gives us the illusion of control, self-determination, and prevents us from uniting against the true cancer that must die before the country can heal. I literally pray, and I mean this, I literally pray that you hear what I'm saying. Ukraine is a pawn. Don't focus on Ukraine. It's so much bigger than that. It's a box to check. It's a domino. Everything about this is so much bigger. Please know Joe Biden has literally committed treason against you, against me, against your neighbors, your kids, your parents, everybody within the United States. But so have a great many others on both sides of the aisle. Do not doubt me. I've been ahead of events for 3 years now. It wasn't the time to say things strongly back then because there was too much going on and I wasn't sure. But now that things are starting to roll out, I'm starting to talk. Like Bob Dylan said, so let us not talk falsely now, for the hour is getting late. I'm pointing out my past accuracy so that you can take me seriously now. I'm not panicked, I'm just resigned. Personally, I respect the planning that has gone into all this, for both sides. The U.S. is fighting back. It's not all over yet, but it'll end up being in pretty much the same conclusion. The end of the dollar. There are wars that are going on inside of governments globally, and it's against the internal corruption that has happened because of China or because of our own CIA. And now governments are taking sides and lining up, preparing for war with each other. This is really complex. This is like a mixture of World War I, 1929, the Great Depression, World War II, and the sack of Rome. Bits and pieces of them all jumbled together. The U.S. is going to pay a bitter price and learn a bitter lesson for not confronting corruption and evil, for the entertainment and shallowness that our culture created and fed. And this is the real war you aren't seeing. It's why the country is so screwy today. It's about how the world will be structured and governed the next 100 years. That's what the facts context, and history all point to as being the big picture. I really want this to be helpful. I really, 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 really want to be wrong. But I don't think I am.